We all have those moments in life that seem to change everything. And for me, one of those moments was the day I stopped caring about what other people think. I don't mean I stopped caring about people. I didn't stop being kind, respectful, or compassionate. I stopped giving power to imaginary opinions that were holding me back. But the truth is, most of the time, those opinions, they're not even real. They're projections of our own insecurities. And once I realized that, it felt like a weight was lifted off my back. If you've ever delayed posting something, starting something, or even just being yourself just because of what someone might think, then this video is for you. Here we go. Here's the truth that completely changed the way I show up. People aren't thinking about you nearly as much as you think they are. Seriously, they're not sitting at home critiquing your YouTube channel. They're not hitting pause to dissect your delivery or your haircut. And yes, I am due for a trim. People simply are not secretly rooting for you to fail. Why? Well, it's really because they're too busy thinking about themselves, their own deadlines, their own finances, their own insecurities. We all think we're being watched, but the reality is most people are just too preoccupied with their own story to even glance at yours for more than a second or two. And once I truly accepted that, it gave me the freedom to finally start showing up. Unfiltered, imperfect, real. Now here's why that realization is such good news. If people aren't watching you that closely, then guess what? You don't need their permission to grow. You don't need to wait until you feel ready. It's not going to happen, by the way. And you don't have to craft the perfect post, the perfect script, the perfect video. I remember when I recorded my first video for this channel, and I must have re-recorded the intro 10 or 15 or maybe 20 times. It's a while ago now, so I've kind of lost count. But every stumble, every awkward pause, I was imagining that thousands of strangers were laughing behind their screens at me. And in reality, that video got maybe 100 views, if I remember right. Nobody commented on the awkward intro. Nobody roasted me in the comments. In fact, nobody commented at all on that first video. It just sort of existed, and it was fine. But to me, especially now in hindsight, that was a turning point because I finally realized the fear wasn't coming from them. It was coming from me. Think about how much of our life is shaped by fear of what people might think. We edit our dreams, we water down our voice, we wait for signs that will never come, all to avoid imaginary criticism. But here's the kicker. The very people we're trying to impress, well, they're usually doing the exact same thing. It's sort of like we're all on this stage, nervously performing for an audience who's too busy checking their own lines for their next show to care about ours. What would happen if we stopped the performance? If we dropped the act and spoke from where we really are? Not as experts, not as polished professionals, but as human beings just trying to grow out loud. That is where connection happens. That's where your real audience shows up. When I finally let go of that need to impress, something really amazing happened. I became more consistent, not because I had more time, but because I had fewer excuses. And suddenly I wasn't wasting hours second-guessing my ideas. I wasn't re-recording things over and over and over, although I still do re-record stuff once in a while. I wasn't talking myself out of showing up, though. I just showed up, messy and honest, and learning as I went. And people noticed, but not in the way that I expected. There weren't people saying, wow, this is flawless. Instead, they were saying things like, thanks for saying this stuff out loud. It's really what I was thinking. Or, I thought I was the only one in this particular situation. And that's when it clicked for me that The moment you stop trying to be impressive is the moment that you become relatable to your audience. Now, here's a bit of a paradox. People don't notice when you start. They notice when your starting point turns into something real. So at first, your videos, your posts, your projects, they'll mostly go unseen. But if you keep going, well, suddenly people start saying, hey, I've been watching your stuff for a while now, or I saw your video in my feed. And that's how it works. It's not instant fame, it's not viral growth, it's just slow, steady trust being built in the background. And when your journey intersects with someone else's need, that's when they finally see you. So don't stop because nobody is clapping yet. Clap for yourself, celebrate. Keep going until the people who need you can't ignore you. When you stop obsessing over what other people might think, you free up a ton of space to focus on what you think, on what matters, on the mission. Because the truth is, if you're always performing, you are not creating, you are coping. You're coping with fear, coping with expectations, coping with a world that told you to stay in line. But your mission, your voice, your growth, that doesn't live in perfection. It lives in progress. You don't need to go viral. You just need to be visible to the right people at the right time. And that starts by showing up, even when it's scary. And listen, if you're over 40 like me, and I'm well over 40, this part is especially important. We grew up in a different world where privacy was the norm and where vulnerability was a weakness and where failure just wasn't talked about. But we're in a new era now where people crave authenticity and where they want to learn from somebody who has lived, not just somebody who's trending. You have value. You have lessons. You have a story that people need to hear. But they'll only hear it if you are willing to risk being seen. So I'm asking you here, don't let the fear of judgment rob the world of your wisdom. You've earned your voice. Now use it. The day I stopped caring about what other people think wasn't about arrogance. It was more about alignment. I stopped trying to be liked because we're not for everyone, and that's okay. Instead, I started trying to be useful and to speak truth and to share freely and to live out loud even if my own voice shook. So if that voice in your head still says, what if they don't like it? Or what if I look foolish? Or what if it's not perfect? Well, just answer with this. What if this changes someone's life? And maybe, just maybe, that someone is you. If this message resonated, do me a favor and hit the like button so more people find it. And in the comments, let me know, what's one thing you've been afraid to do because of what others might think? Maybe it's creating your first YouTube video. Let's start a real conversation. And if you're ready for more encouragement and real talk and practical help building online after 40, subscribe. You've got something worth sharing, and I'll be right here cheering you on every step of the way. And these next videos should be helpful for your journey. I'll see you there.